Logic.
Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to an exciting 4v4 on Cannis River. Can AllReasonNoLogic tank Tom prevail in a random 4v4? Joining me for this recast is Tank Tom, who may or may not know the outcome to this game.
Reliving old memories.
So jumping right on in, we'll see Tank Tom is the equal highest OS in the blue team, playing as Cortex, and he is up against a range of players. Can the two 20 OSs help the 2 and the 10 win against a 16, 19, 12, and 14? We shall see. Cannis
This
River
map is Cannis River v1.4. The main pathways are the two channels you can see through the water. There is some extra ones north and south as well, where you can get some small units through there. But the main focus for this was those two land bridges essentially through the middle there.
Having a quick look at our red players, we have a solar heavy start from the red player. Interesting choice, but not the worst one, considering that wind risk is at 12.
Wind on this map is real bad.
Yeah, 12% with a max of 14, min of 4, which means that there is a decent chance you're going to be not overly efficient. I don't think I would go with 6 because that's a lot of metal, but it definitely won't hurt for that consistent energy as compared to the blue team, which is almost entirely wind with what looks like a single safety solar from a couple of these players. Scouts just starting up now. We have ticks that are looking to check and hold this bridge and hope nothing comes across for the orange player, and for the blue player we have rovers doing the same thing.
One of the things they've been trying to get much better at after losing many bases is to have at least a few units sitting in your base early, so that if those ticks had run all the way across, I would have at least had some units to clean them up, rather than have a single tick get in and completely cripple your eco and then set you back 5 minutes.
Early aggression can make or break a game, so long as the opponent takes advantage of it and uses that eco advantage either to pile on more damage or to get further and further ahead. Having a quick look at the bases, we have a triple vehicle and single bot out of the blue team compared to a quad bot out of the red team. So the red team's definitely going to have the advantage in unit numbers, but the blue team will have the advantage in power, and on a choke point map that can make the difference. One of the players just calling out the fact that green does not have a queue going right now. In fact, his builder is not moving, and neither is his factory. Orange is sending a scout in right now to the blue base. It's heading on to the aqua base, but it looks like it is being cleaned up, and Tank Tom cleaning up the one going for his base. Definitely a good call with those early units in the base.
Yeah, we were aware of the those land bridges, but I think we do end up having a few excursions through the shallow water as well. You can see that blue's doing a bit of a scouting run down into yellow here.
Looks like he could actually pick off the builder that's getting the geo. That'd be quite a big catch. Though half the rovers are shooting the geo, which is not what you want unless you want to take the geo as well. Getting the surround bonus now, which is good to see, and moving on
And
before
you can see the difference that the surround bonus gives you once you get that on a unit. They start falling significantly faster than when you're just on one side of them.
Rovers are closing off all that energy so that the comm and any LLTs have troubleshooting.
You can see on this northern side, me and the aqua player are doing a push in to see what's going on as well.
Couple of grunts backed up with some incisors. If you get the engagement just right, you should be able to push on through. This time, not quite able to destroy the orange army, but very much so capable of running past. While that
I have made it through and continuing on.
And while that was going on, the blue rovers have been in the back of the red's base. They destroy a mechs and they destroy a solar.
And those aqua incisors that came across with me are now going through and cleaning up their third mechs.
Very,
Through
very
orange.
nice. units all around the orange base. Com is still there, which means that these should be pushed off, but loads of damage coming on through. Very annoying in the early game. It's amazing just how much damage you can do with rovers or ticks. These rovers up to 3 chevrons.
They're so painful to chase down if you don't have anything in front of them as they're running away.
Oof, yeah, gets another solar. So even though these can be reclaimed, the detrimental damage is the detriment to your energy is fantastic. Twin Guard up near the front lines for the red player. This should repel a decent amount this early on, but purple, as in Tank Tom, pushing it back across the other river again. But this time he meets the Centurion front on instead of side on, so he is repelled.
So you can see that for the blue side, we've got comms on both of those land bridges, holding those points and reinforcing them with some LOTs.
Which means that the map control advantage is most certainly on the blue side. And having a quick look at the eco, because of that early game rover damage and the push throughs, orange has been, like the red team has been on the defensive. So if you look at Tank Tom's base, we've got all the way up to 21 wins. And we're even getting some energy conversion. A similar story in the teal base. The wins are coming up now, but they're still well ahead. Green and blue also doing quite well. If you compare this to red, which is still stuck on his heavy solar, and orange, who's essentially been reset, this is quite huge. Yellow and pink, the only ones realistically matching. Pink a little bit ahead because he's been ecoing like crazy and only focusing on eco. Part of why that damage was possible.
You can see that I'm starting my T2 transition at this point. The plan was that I was going to get the T2 up and running and distribute that to the rest of the team.
And while that's going on, blue is sending some amphibious tanks across an undefended area. Zooming out while that's happening, we actually notice that both teams leaving a lot of the middle of the map mexes up for grabs. No one's managed to get a constructor there just yet, focusing on that micro and that defense. But these pincers should do a lot of damage. Not much in the way of defenses between them. One Centurion that's been powered out, but that's about it. And these things are quite strong.
Looks like they're going to go to that orange base and see what they can find.
Fingers crossed they get the lab. That'll really slow orange down because he doesn't have much in the way of build power or army. And if you can punch on through to pink that has no defenses, but unfortunately they walk straight into the comm. Gets a good D-gun on, but the low wind means he's not going to get a second one anytime soon, but his laser enough to deflect them. You got to keep these things at a bit of range. They do have decent range, but they're not the tankiest of units. Getting surrounded.
It is good to see when they're repelled, moving on to the next target that they can try and find.
Once you end up in that situation, and particularly if you're trying to fight a comm head-on, you just have to move on and see what damage you can do, though unfortunately it doesn't look like they're going to be overly successful, picking an attack path with an LLT in front of them. And it gets cleaned up by the LLT and the pawns. But looking at the defenses, I don't see much of a way for the red team to push on through this without getting up to T2 or without getting an entire ball of T1. So great job from the blue team. They've both been very offensive, but they've been very capable of defensive. The thing I'd like to see most from the red team is reclaiming that medal and getting it on the front line. Push coming in from the green player.
And that's enough tanks that with just the T1 defenses, you can essentially roll through and clean them out completely. They've got the artillery support as well.
But the artillery up to this point has done one green tank, and that's about it. So not quite what we're looking for. It looks like they're actually targeting ground, so they're still firing at that. They're still firing at the Warden wreckage. I wonder if he's trying to remove it from the map so it can't be resurrected or be reclaimed.
They've just targeted and forgotten about it.
Yeah, I like to think the best of people. It's the sort of thing I would do because
I've done
wreckage of 288 metal is a lot of metal. We see a panic ping coming up from orange, who's called everyone to defend against those tanks. And defend they have. Red's come up to join, and so has yellow with their limited units. But these tanks, lots of pushing power. Would have been good if they got a bit of a repair before heading back out again. There is a comm on the front. Looking to the bottom, though, a series of rovers have pushed on through. They're hugging the wind in order to not get sniped by the comm, but hugging the wind also means that the detonation from the turbine enough to kill them. So if they'd hung back just a little bit more, they could have chain reacted this. Rows of 2 people, not rows of 3.
Yeah, rows of 2 means that you're largely somewhat safe. You can see blues setting up a couple of wind farms with those rows of 2.
And on the front line, we had a very risky move from Free Kippy. Had the other team pushed on hard, they actually probably could have taken that comm, and the explosion would have destroyed the green tanks. But no,
everything.
but unfortunately, no push like that. Blue coming up to help, and looks like a combined blue and green assault, or just a rapid run-by from blue, depending. Looks like it might... Yep, it is the combined assault and the rapid run-by all at once. So most of the damage coming in this one side of the map. Concentrating on the comm. Massive D-guns. Oof, you cannot clump your tanks up like that if you're fighting a comm. There was definitely enough damage to take the comm, but they did not because of that because of them clumping up and taking all that damage from D-guns.
Great job by Red to stop all those tanks from rolling through.
Yep. But a couple of blitzers managed to push on through, and they destroy the conversion of the red player. So even though that attack was completely stopped, even though that attack was mostly stopped in the middle, the run-by still happened. Good job from the blue players. The red team is definitely falling further and further behind at this stage, as we see shelling coming up on the orange defenses from the top side of the map. So lots of aggression on the bottom half of the map, and slow crawling from the top. We even see an agitator coming down to help push this through. There is a sneaking peek coming down, but because the location of these buildings is already known, it won't actually stop the units from targeting them. A little bit of a break going on right now, so let's check out what the eco of the pink player is doing. He's still yet to be overly effective, but he is invested in 11 advanced solars and is on T2. He doesn't look like he's dished out T2 to the rest of his team, just the one. Oh no, there are 2. Yep, nope, both of them his. So, has not dished it out to everyone in the map. So the eco player being very greedy and very selfish at the moment, and all of that advanced solar, huge amount of metal investment into power. Jumping back to Tank Tom, T2 out for Tank Tom, and we have just the 2 constructors, but one of them is queued up to do everyone else's mexes as well. So great on Tank Tom for being a good team player. Push coming in from the top half of the map, try and take on these top mexes. Just a fast run by of incisors. No, nothing up here to defend, so very safe little push, and a good opportunity now that the defenses had been mostly pushed down by the artillery. We'll see just how far in this gets. Every little bit of metal taken is a good thing, particularly when the rest of the team is mostly metal starved, because we're only just getting T2 from the yellow player. And
Things are on their way into that top side there now.
Yep, and that is going to be a big, hard push. It can't... The red team, they do have some hounds coming up from the pink player, but that is definitely not going to be enough. Oh, that comm explosion taking out most of the army. Definitely a good way to lose a comm if you're going to lose one. That completely blunts the push from Tom, but it's a taken commander, so only 3 left for the red team. And we do still have a couple of units pushing on through. Just a couple of incisors and a couple of brutes. They will be stopped by the hounds, but they may be able to get some damage done between now and then. Trying to get the surround bonus on a T2 max. Half down. Can they get it? Looks like they're going to be able to get it. Even with the hounds firing away, it looks like they're going to get the T2 max. Great job from the teal player. More little engagements in the top half of the map. It looks like there's been a swing on the aggressive side, but the orange player is firing in range of that agitator. The agitator taking its toll. Not necessarily getting the kills, but laying the damage out.
Often with the agitators and some of those longer range defenses, you're largely using them as a deterrent rather than something that's going to kill everything that runs at it.
And while this has been going on, the blue team has been slowly picking apart the defenses at the bottom. A large amount of shell shockers, ticks, and a couple of Janus running on through, getting a lot of damage done. They're going to be repelled by the hounds, but they've managed to push them back off of the land bridge yet again. And more damage, more mexes out of the control of the red team. Looking at the economies, it is 140 average income to 109 on the red side, so pushing ahead by 30 metal a second. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it is effectively 30% more eco. Little spikes coming up from reclaim every now and then, and those hounds are definitely going to be a pain, but the blue and the green player are inside the red base. As long as they stay away from that comm, they should be able to wipe out just about everything here. They're hanging around the Geo, not the best place to be when it blows up, but they've moved on past and they're in the wind farm. A couple extra shots and this should start chain reacting. There we go. That's the chain reaction. Good D-guns from the yellow player. Managed to keep that Geo relatively safe. The hounds cleaning up the rest of the army from
players here
behind, but the green player continuing to push through, takes the conversion as well. We'll see where he goes from there. Sheldon's pinging away, getting chased by the comm, a second invisible comm coming down, but if they were to keep going, they would find another exposed wind farm, but it looks like they're aiming for that T2 mechs, but I think they're going to get degunned before they take it down. Yep, they do. Couple of fiends heading on into the middle.
ready to go.
But unfortunately, one has pushed through a bit more. Manages to get some of Orange's wind, one of the mexes, but gets destroyed by that LLT. Just jumping back to the ecos, even more advanced solars, up to 20 for the pink player, but if we look back at the bases, we have a fusion for Tank Tom, and we've got one nearly completed for the green player.
The fiends that I'd forgotten about on the repeat command at my base are now on their way out.
Yep, starting to march across. They're going to walk into a 10 hounds, a centurion, and 9 maces. Depending on how quick they are getting into the combat, these actually should have the DPS to run down this line and take a lot of them out. Good micro out of the pink player, picking it up very quickly. Those hounds should be able to run and gun their way away, but huge amounts of army fallen here, and more of those hounds, and when the resources are further and further ticking in the way of the other players, that is all a good thing. Just missed the comm explosion, caught the tail of it. Half the fiends split down to the orange base and managed to take a comm. That is 2 down for the red team, 2 to go for the blue team. Looking over here, we have an entire second base coming up for the blue player, lots of wind, and it looks like this is the tick spam, and we have one more fiend, in fact, two of Tom's fiends still running around the middle of the map. This one fiend is about to get part of the wind farm, could get the conversion, but if he gets the wind, it's basically the same thing, because he won't be able to convert. Four construction bots chasing him down. In fact, more than that. up to 5 construction bots chasing him down. They've stopped realizing just how fast he is. Hounds pushing on the front, trying to break their way through, but hounds are a ranged attacker. You don't want to use them to break lines. They want to sit outside of range of this and shell on through, not try and run through a couple of wardens, a couple of LLTs, an agitator, tanks, and a comm. That's just not what you do with hounds. That one fiend still in the background manages to take out the wind, then the conversion. Now he tried to take out all of those constructors, got 3 of them, and some of the wind as well, before finally being eaten by a LLT and some construction bots. But this is really the blue team picking apart the reds. Ticks coming on in to try and finish off the yellow player. They have bypassed the Sheldon wall, no radars, which means that these weren't seen. The yellow player is completely unaware up until now, And the ticks getting a surround on the LLT, big damage. LLT doesn't fall, they run past it, but they do get the build power, and the build power is much more important. Running on through to see what else they can get done with the Fiend having passed through. They know that there is limited defenses back here, and they're going to continue on to the red base, getting those last couple of wins, but falling to the LLTs. But another Tank Tom Fiend push coming across, Fiends being the play of the day from Tank Tom. And these are running straight into that Sheldon line, but the Sheldon's not running away, not as fast as the Hounds, just trying to get the damage on before they're destroyed. Fiends running down the line, great line-breaking unit, and that is almost all the Fiends gone, and they are in the yellow base. They're targeting the advanced geothermal as they run past. That should be enough damage to get it. They do get it, lose most of the Fiends, but it does take out the lab as well. Yellow effectively out of the fight for the time being, only has 2 advanced extractors, and enough power for a D-gun every 10 or so seconds. Hounds trying to clean up some of the Fiends that broke off to the orange player, but they run past. They're on a move command, not a fight command, which means the Fiends make their way through, punching through more of that wind. The red team is just being systematically pulled apart, and the pink player, the super eco player, unable to deal with all of these fronts. He does have a fusion now, but he is still building advanced solars. Could you imagine if all of this metal was chucked into, was pushed into units? That's it's 400 odd metal per advanced solar collector, 370 per advanced solar collector. If you want to do the maths and let us know in the comments, do that. But the next attack is coming on to the red comm. That is the final comm, and down it goes. Great play out of the blue team, systematically picking apart the red team with constant aggression and great defenses across the points. Good job. And Tank Tom, you were actually playing in that game, despite me not giving you an opportunity to talk edgewise during the cast. How do you feel that one went?
That one went pretty good. What I really enjoyed for that was the teamwork.
Definitely a great... Everyone did support each other very well. You took up all of the slack... Each person took up the slack of the ones next to it. Quick graph at the damage dealt, and you can see orange quite high on the defense. Green definitely doing a lot of the early defense. Blue reasonably consistent the whole way through. But Tank Tom, when you got that those fiends up and running, you just ran over everyone else in damage. But you did it without being a detriment to your team. And unfortunately a lot of players that hang back are detrimental. Quick look at the metal production. We can see that you skyrocketed because of your early T2, but you did help your team. You can see little jumps here and there where the angle increases as your builder goes around to help everyone. Looking at the energy produced, similar sort of story. Because of that fusion, you absolutely shot past the pink player. Despite the pink player focusing almost entirely on eco and building so many advanced solars, a player building aggressive units still managed to out-eco him. Unfortunately, advanced solar's not always the play of the game. Play of the day. Quick look at the damage dealt. The blue team better damage efficiency, which is interesting considering that a lot of the units were ticks, grunts, and fiends. And then a quick look at the economy. 1 million extra energy for the blue team, and 30% more metal for the blue team, as well, as we spoke about earlier on. Well, I hope that everyone enjoyed this one. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. If you want to let us know anything in the comments, please do. Otherwise, jump onto our Discord and jump on in these games with us. We always enjoy playing with new people. Thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll catch you next time.
See you guys.